You are now watching the Juke Boy Sports Show. I am your host, King Ralph, here with my boy, co-host as well, the homie Kai. How
What's
you feeling,
good?
bro?
I'm doing great, man. I'm extra great today, man.
Yeah.
Super happy, super
like it.
excited. You know, we all know why.
Excited to be back in the studio, man.
Yes, that too, man. Definitely back to be in the studio and the old stomping grounds, as they would usually say.
Right. Well, let's send a shout out to our sponsors. You see the green screen behind me, so we are back in the building. If you want to do any photo shoots, music videos, podcasts like yourself, like you're seeing right now, or as myself, call 707 Fitboxer. And we got a lot to get to today. A lot of headlines today, but we're avoiding all John Gruden topics today.
Yeah.
It's just way too much to try to get at, and some heavy things. Some things I agree with, some things I disagree with, but I will attack those at a later time. But some great football last night, though.
Wow. That's all I could say.
And for the people that are tired of us talking about the Ravens, gonna have to get over it. It's a lot of good headlines coming out of Baltimore. So, what was some of your biggest takeaways away from that game?
Well, first of all, as a Ravens fan, I want to give a personal shout out to the Indianapolis Colts. They played a good game for the most part, especially the first half of the game. It was a thriller. It was a thriller game. You're talking about a team that came out with Carson Wentz. They were 1-3, and they did not play like a 1-3 team to start that game.
Not at all.
On the road, Frank Reich, he called a great game, I thought, early on. Getting the ball out quick, getting the ball out to the running back, screen passes. Mo Alley Cox was destroying the Ravens, and everything just seemed to be going the Indianapolis Colts way, right?
Right.
Because I believe the first three possessions, the Baltimore Ravens, they 3-and-outs and punts, the first 3-4 possessions, and they were really struggling. But when that man happened, that man, Lamar Jackson, I don't know his middle name. I was going to make up a middle name. Lamar Action Jackson. # New Era 8. It is a new era, a new breed of Raven here. Not the old Ravens that we used to know. But, he was phenomenal, spectacular. I need adjectives, Ralph, I can't even think of. He led the charge.
Fantabulous.
Yeah, fantabulous, right? He led the charge, and I like to give credit to multiple Ravens on the team always, because I always say wins are a team effort. But when you account for 96% of the total yards of your team's offense or the game in general, like that's spectacular. They were down 19 points, and for me, the biggest takeaway for me was his mental fortitude under pressure to come from behind. People talk about, him finally proving he can pass in the pocket and pass from behind. Quite frankly, he's proven those things. Now, maybe
Right.
on a playoff level, that's really the next area, where he needs to continue to excel at. Obviously, he got the win versus the Tennessee Titans. But in terms of the regular season, we saw some of that last year against the Cleveland Browns. We saw it was it 2 weeks ago versus the Detroit Lions in Detroit, having to set up a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal win. So Lamar Jackson's ability and mental fortitude cannot be encapsulated on the stat sheet. And this goes on to what me and you talk about multiple times in any sport when we talk about not just statistical output, but intangibles that certain players have that you cannot teach. The Jordans had it, the Kobe's had it, Lamar has it, Russ has it, Tom Brady has it. There's certain things, greatness, and I believe he's getting better and only continuing to get better. So my takeaway was just total dominance, poise in the pocket, and then the overtime. I think he said that's game. I think he said that on the sideline. Spectacular. I was really at a loss of words. Probably fainted like 3 different times. I was really, really happy. I just like the fight that our team showed. And my last point with that is shout out to Calais Campbell as well.
Right.
Calais Campbell, his defensive energy and his playmaking permeated throughout the defense to get that block field goal. Almost lost it with Tavon Young. But overall, it was a great game, and I'm very happy with my quarterback, and I'm happy with my team, man.
That's my quarterback.
Yeah, that's my quarterback, bro. I wouldn't – look, I love Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady, but I wouldn't take anyone over Lamar just off the strength. I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but just off what he means to the city of Baltimore and to that team, I wouldn't take any quarterback in the league over Lamar Jackson. So
I think a lot of what he means to just our community, honestly, because it's like the one thing I enjoyed the most about him is that he has when he came into the league with the big fro, then like when you listen to him talk, he's so South Florida.
Florida boy.
He's such a Florida boy. Bumping Kodak while he's training, and everything. So I think like I really enjoy that part of him the most. And then when you watch him play, it's like I've seen this. I've been trying to tell people, like you mentioned, we've been trying to drill this into people's head for like so long that just because we watch him run for 1,000 yards and do these bootleg route, like they try to get him out of the pocket,
right? Quarterback
and things
power,
and quarterback powers and things like that, doesn't mean that he can't stand pat in the pocket. Like, 'cause I watched him. Would he run for 1,000 yards and throw for 3,000 in college or something like that?
Yeah,
It was like something along those lines, and it's like, yo, like this, he's such a weapon that it is almost as dominant as an Aaron Donald is, or as great as Pat Mahomes is. It's such for him not to be in that conversation when you start talking about best NFL players. Is almost disgraceful, and we talked about this before about him being out of the top 10.
Right. And then what is the NFL top players? They mentioned the players that ranked him number 1, and then they moved him down to 24. But he had a COVID season, the injury riddled season with the line and different things like that. So I definitely agree with you. There, Ralph. Like, it's crazy because like I know Mahomes and his like, I don't want to put people's personal business, but like his like wife like complained about like the ranking or whatever, and so like I know when he beat the Ravens last year in Baltimore, he counted like the number, I guess, where his rank was, what I'm saying? So people believe Mahomes is number 1, but Lamar has to be in that top 10.
Right.
Has to be. Maybe even higher.
He has to be in that 5. Like, I feel 5. Like it's if you like, just start talking about just football players, you got to put him in the 5. Like,
because he's giving you rushing and.
But to talk about the other team as well, because I went in and I said that I thought that a couple of weeks ago, I said that Carson Wentz is his career might be coming to an end.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
The Colts are not where we thought they were, but they played very well. Even Carson Wentz, 25 of 35, 400 yards, over 400 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor looked good.
Yeah, that boy's fast.
And somebody else that I talked about as far as, like, I don't understand why he doesn't get mentioned in the same category as the best young wide receivers, but Michael Pittman.
I love him. In college.
Yeah, and I never understood why he just doesn't get put in the conversation with the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chase now. Like
maybe it's the team record, but then again, last year didn't the Colts have a better record than the Vikings? Or
I believe so.
Sure.
The Colts played very well last year.
Yeah, but I think Justin Jefferson, because he probably gets more
Right.
more opportunity, more snaps, more stuff. Maybe that's why.
True, and more targets.
But I definitely agree.
But I definitely feel like Michael Pittman Jr. has definitely showed what he was able to display. That he had a highlight catch over your young fella.
Yeah, man.
But he had six receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Apologize, I don't have my glasses. I'm over here squinting.
He's doing the Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Got to see it to believe it.
Right. But, yeah, man, like the offense played well. Darius Leonard.
Oh, yeah, great defensive playmaker. Great,
right. And I was watching a little bit of the game that I was able to catch because I was on daddy duties. So I wasn't able to watch the game live. Yeah. A lot of what I seen was after the fact. But the little bit that I was able to watch, I overheard them talking about him having a team meeting and calling people out and hurt feelings, not being afraid to hurt feelings, but just trying to make sure that the team is coming out and fighting every week.
Yeah.
And they came out, they fought hard. They punched him in the mouth a few times. But Baltimore was able to withstand that. They was able to pull a Tyson Fury and and get up out of there with a TKO.
Nice. You know what? And I also have to give credit because I criticize him constructively. Criticize Greg Roman oftentimes on this show, but I always have a reason to, right?
Right.
Especially when he calls junior varsity plays at the pro level. But he has great run schemes. But the fact that the Colts sold out to stop the run versus the Ravens, and teams are really doing that now. Even though the Ravens, they knew coming in that they wanted that rushing record, right?
Right.
To surpass the Steelers. For the first half to be very anemic offense, and then the second half for him to start running that 2-minute hurry-up offense, I told my father, because I watched the game with my father, and I was like, you realize that what happened last year? Remember when the Ravens went on their run down the stretch last year? It started with that Colts game because that was the game when people were complaining about Roman's play call in the first half. And what did he do? Because the Colts could get from sideline to sideline real quick, he started speeding up the plays. He's like, okay, we're going to quick passes, hurry up offense. And so that pace really bothered the Colts. It tired them down. And so Greg Roman, his play calling outside the Chiefs game has been really questionable this year once again. And so it's just having a level of consistency that I would like to see from him, especially when you want to have Super Bowl aspirations or have Super Bowl aspirations. So I have to give credit to Greg Roman for doing that hurry-up offense. Also, Lamar Jackson, we don't really know what plays he's actually being able to call or whatnot. I know that Harbaugh gives him autonomy, but I do know that Greg Roman's the offensive coordinator. So just a joint collective effort by everybody involved. And shout out also to Mark Andrews. I think he had 11 catches, 2 touchdowns,
he finally,
over 100 yards.
Finally had a big game on a major
night, right?
On a major television.
Yeah, nationally televised prime
game.
Time against a solid team. And so even though the record doesn't show it.
Yeah, the record doesn't reflect it, but the Colts are way better than that. They 1-3 now?
Mm-hmm. And I know you see Travis Kelce, two times every year, and I'm not saying he's better than Kelce, but as Ravens fans and just football fans in general, we always say what separates those tiers is the fact that Andrews has everything. It's just that he doesn't consistently catch passes on primetime games and stuff like that.
Big time games, traffic, traffic, catch. If you're a big target, you got to be able to come down with the rock.
Yep.
And it was a couple times he threw the ball up for grabs. Mm-hmm. Andrews came down with it.
Yeah.
So can't really ask for much more for him. So you tip your hat off to him at the end of the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, end of the game, and you move on to the next week. As we move on to the next topic, see what I did there.
Nice. I like that.
Bills. They put the hurt on.
The Sharkeisha smackdown.
Yeah, all you heard was Sharkeisha, no. Sharkeisha, no. When they dismantled the Chiefs. It was at 38-20
in your
on the road.
House. Right.
Josh Allen 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards.
Speak on
so it's are the Bills the team to beat now?
All right. In the AFC.
In the AFC specifically.
With all due respect to my team and the Chiefs and other teams with winning records, I actually do believe they are. And the reason why I say that they are is because I always look at how you're beating teams. People talk about the schedule, right? But when you play teams like I think they play the Dolphins.
They played the Dolphins,
and there
football
was team that they played
Texans,
that wasn't really that great.
Chiefs.
Texans, right? But they shut out the Texans, right?
Yeah, they made them look real bad.
Yeah, right.
Where the football team too.
Exactly. Where a team
and they shut out the Dolphins.
Oh, okay. Where it seemed like the Ravens, Lamar had to come back, and we'll get to him, I think, in our next topic. Yeah. But it took a 66 or whatever, field goal by Justin Tucker to beat a team like the Detroit Lions, right? I'm looking at the Bills, how they're beating teams. They're blowing teams out.
Yeah, they're making teams look real bad.
Right, and they finally faced a team where, okay, you still have Patrick Mahomes, who many believe is the best quarterback. Even if you don't believe he may be the MVP right now, he's the best quarterback in the league. Mm-hmm. He was the one getting GOAT comparisons. So for the Bills to finally address the fact they need the pass rush in the draft, that was the only thing that they needed. They addressed the pass rush, okay. Josh Allen can still run the ball, get you rushing touchdowns, which he had last game. Right. And for them to beat the Chiefs handily in Arrowhead Stadium, a place where they lost the AFC Championship game, and Stephon Diggs stayed after the game and looked at the fans cheering. For him to not even have like a great game and really have to be involved in the offense, the Bills, I feel like they're clicking on all cylinders. With the Chiefs right now, they're struggling. The Browns right now, you have questions with Baker Mayfield and the Odell Beckham. His opportunities and all that kind of stuff is going down each week. Yards is going down each week despite being open. And then the Ravens, where I believe actually like they're the team that's contending with the Bills, but because they're not fully healthy and they're getting guys back like a Rashad Bateman, eventually a Ronnie Stanley, I think the second half of the season they'll be better.
Right.
But I think right now, as of now, the Bills are the better team in totality right now, and the fact that the last point, I believe if it continues down their path, because they have the easiest schedule, right? You're going to have to go through Buffalo, ice cold Buffalo, in the AFC Championship game to actually beat the Bills. Now, that's foreshadowing away, but just their schedule projects that they probably will have the 1 seed.
True.
So, me personally, I'm going to say the Bills. I'm going to, accept the Bills for this one, for me.
I do too, as well, as of right now, because of the questions with other teams. You really don't have that many questions when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. So it's like, for me, you start to look at, like I mentioned, you look at these, how handily they're beating teams. Now, Now you can have another conversation as far as like the talent level on this team, but when you start looking at how they beat these teams and how much they beat these teams by, when you start comparing to other teams, and styles make fights.
Yeah.
But like, you beat the Texans 40-0, you beat the Dolphins 35-0, and that was when they had Tua. You beat
That's a division opponent. Yeah.
You beat the Washington football team. You doubled their point total, and then you go and you almost double the Chiefs' point total. So it's like but you do have an L to the Steelers. But
right,
at the same time, it's week 1. You're trying to get your team, trying to see where your team is at. People are fresh. Where we said that eventually Ben Roethlisberger's body would shut down.
Yeah.
I didn't see him looking this bad this earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But we both predicted that he would start to look bad at some point.
Yeah.
So for him, and they have a great defense. So for that defense to come out, hold the Buffalo Bills to 16 points.
Right.
Where Josh Allen didn't have a trash game, but he went 30 for 51, didn't have 300 yards, only had 5 yards on average per pass, had a 79 passer rating.
That was a game that kind of, I think, woke them up. They had to get loose.
Then after that, next week, 35 zip, 43-21, 40 zip, 38-20. So it's like, for them to, when you start getting to a certain point where you're just shutting down teams, it's kind of hard to have a different opinion as far as who is the team to beat.
Yeah.
I think with that, then when you start, I really think that the number 2 team, and I think next week we'll probably end up doing a power ranking, another power ranking.
Good time to do it.
As far as the NFL, but you start thinking about that number 2 team, and it could really go to anybody, because at that point, like, Cleveland Browns looked good up until Jarvis Landry got hurt.
Chargers.
And then the Chargers. The Chargers are creeping up there, looking good. I think they just beat the Browns.
Yeah, they just beat the Browns. I mean, they gave up a lot of points to the Browns,
Yes.
but then again, like, the Ravens defense is giving up a lot of points too.
Right.
A few teams are running on them now.
Right.
But
so then with that, and then it's like the Raiders lose 2 games in a row, where I had them up there. Then they got total dysfunction.
The Bengals.
I ain't gonna put them up there.
That's what I said.
They look good offensively though, and they even got like some
Jamar,
things.
Higgins.
They look really good offensively, which is where I thought that they would. It's the defense that I didn't think would be able to stop people.
Yeah. Joe Burrow.
But Joe Burrow balling out. Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and review the tape, because I want to say I picked Chase to win
Rookie
of the year.
Rookie of the year. He has like 3 touchdowns.
But he's
like
been balling. I got him on both my fantasy teams, and he's been putting up very good numbers.
You stuck with him. You didn't. Yeah.
Actually, somebody I stuck with, and they paid dividends. I was thinking about taking that trade, because somebody in our fantasy league offered Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts had a good game this week.
Oh yeah. I had him on my bench, but I had Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
So
I had him starting. I had him starting, and then he ended up having a good game out in London. So we'll see what happens as far as like going forward, but that's on an individual level. But to get back to the topic at hand, I really believe that the Bills are the team to beat currently.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
They're very dangerous. We'll see. I do think that major foreshadowing, if they do run into a team like the Ravens.
That's gonna be a barn.
It's gonna be depending on that weather is what type of game we're gonna see, because I don't know.
That's an external
if
factor.
They can run the football like the Ravens can run the football.
Right.
And so where Josh Allen's biggest threat is his arm, but he can also run.
Yeah.
But it's like if the threat of throwing the ball isn't as much of a threat as as him running the football, depending on the weather, then you might get a different football game to where that would make it easier for the Ravens. It would benefit the Ravens even though they're on the road.
You know what I think? Me personally, I know we're completely foreshadowing. Like an injury could happen. The Titans could end up beating the Chiefs.
Right.
Who knows, right?
True.
But I think for me, when I look at this, it's the same week technically, or whatever you want to call it. But those two games, right? It was almost like, I'm responding to Josh Allen and them, even though they're focused on the Colts. I feel like while the Bills may be the better team right now, right, with the defense, the pass rush, and Josh Allen playing, how he's playing, Lamar playing at an MVP level as well on his side. But I think it could be the fact that the Ravens are coming back from behind so constantly, right, that if they were to win that game, right, we're just projecting, it would be due to the mental fortitude. Not saying the Bills don't have it. Definitely, right. Because anytime to go in, but they never were down versus the Chiefs. They were never really down versus any of these teams. So it could be a situation where the Bills get the lead and Lamar has to come from behind once again on a bigger stage, on a grander stage, right?
Right.
So I think that could be a situation. But, so between that, the weather, like you mentioned, I mean, Justin Tucker, I think he missed 2 field goals off win. Like Justin Tucker's pretty much automatic, so you already know the win, what I'm saying? So I agree with you. It's styles make fights, man. So it's gonna be great. But right now, I believe those two teams in the Chargers. Chargers gonna be a tough team next week. They're definitely in that. They're in my top 3, I believe, in the AFC right now.
The one thing I am kind of looking forward to, and then we'll switch over to the next topic after this. The Bills play the Titans on Monday Night Football next week. So for me, it's gonna be a big
Julio ball out,
and that's gonna be a big game because I think that it is. You're going to get to see them against a very strong, potent run offense.
Yeah. Derrick Henry's coming.
Yeah.
I'm calling Damien. 1, 2. He's coming for you.
And because, I think that, with that team, you got a Julio, you got a AJ, you got a Derrick Henry. It's just whether or not
that defense.
Can the defense withhold? Can the defense hold up? And can Ryan Tannehill do enough to win the football game?
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a big test for the Buffalo Bills going forward. I was just sitting here looking at the Titans because I was like, I didn't even think about the Titans. But it's at this point,
it's their defense. Their defense
they lost to the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets stand for just end the season. So
right, exactly. So for them to lose to the Jets, it's like, I can't even put you in this conversation.
Right.
With the big dogs.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson balled out. My pick to win the MVP is still playing very well. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Who is your front runner?
Okay, so my front. It's interesting because I think you could pick Kyler.
Yes.
I picked Tom Brady because I thought just the division. I thought he was going to play well, even though
right.
he has a bevy of weapons. But so does Mahomes. But based off the definition, I continue to beat the dead horse. I think and he's been playing well pretty much all season, obviously. But I think just off the strength of the definition value or value over replacement player, it's actually Lamar. And I'm hearing people say it, but I'm not mad if someone else says somebody else. You could say Kyler Murray. But I think just the fact that having had 16 players on injured reserve, being able to beat the Chiefs because there was implications to that game, just like there's implications to Josh Allen, even though his was on the road, beating it, him openly saying that's our kryptonite and then beating the kryptonite, right? Coming back from behind in a primetime game and posting up first player with 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 50 rushing yards with an 86% completion.
Yeah, he was balling.
History, right?
Yeah, he was balling. And
then, tying Dan Marino for the most, wins or, whatever. I actually, by the definition of value, it's Lamar Jackson. And we haven't seen – I think we saw what peak Lamar Jackson could be last night in terms of statistical performance.
True.
So it's once he gets guys back. So I'm going to say Lamar, but my second is going to be I'm going to say Kyler Murray, your boy. I'm going to go Kyler Murray. He's a small quarterback anyway. He can throw the football, but I think being a small quarterback is not easy in the NFL. So I think every single week, if I was going to use like an external factor, I think every single week he has that going against him. And so for him to continue to ball at his size, because even in the win they had, I think he looked like he was holding that shoulder again or that collarbone. And so I know a lot of people now are starting to have the Cardinals make the Super Bowl possibly or upset the Bucs or whatever team you might have them, in the conference championship. But my one thing with Kyler, we always talk about Lamar, is Kyler, that line will protect him and him getting hit just off the strength of his height. Not his running, but just he's so small. So I think just the risk of that every week, them being the best offense in the NFL right now, having a college offense, them blowing out teams. I think he has enough weapons on defense,
Right.
But he would be my second pick, Kyler Murray. And I might be disrespecting Justin Herbert too. You know what I'm saying? So you can go there as well. So I think that's the second spot is tied. So yeah, that's where I got on the MVP, bro.
For me, Kyler Murray. I'm gonna stick with my pick. Because he's playing well.
Yes.
Only 5-0 team.
Right. They're undefeated. So
they're undefeated. The only undefeated team currently as we stand, and they've gone through 2 games. Where are they at? Yep, we got. Yeah. They beat the Rams. They beat the 49ers. Right. They beat Tennessee really bad. Yeah. They beat Jacksonville like they should have. And then they beat Minnesota.
Right.
That was the closest game, is the Minnesota game.
Right.
But I mean,
the Rams beat the Bucs. I'm sorry.
Yeah. True. And so I think one could argue Matt Stafford as well.
Yeah, but I think yeah, you're right. I think that Seahawks game kind of.
Right.
Yeah. He was there though for a minute.
Right. And so, but with me, I'm gonna rock with my boy Kyler Murray. I just love watching him throw the football, just with so much effort
and accuracy.
Just like this. He doesn't even have to put that much effort, and it's just like 50 yards down the field.
Yeah, it's on point.
And it's on point. And which is like, for me, I played baseball. So, like, watching these former baseball players like a Pat Mahomes, a Kyler Murray, throwing the ball down the field, it's a beauty to watch, especially with him being so small.
Yeah.
So, as we stand, he's top 5 in passer rating. He's top 5 in
DOA. Dead or alive, where he's playing, man.
But as we speak, currently he's a top 5 quarterback. As far as passing yards. Actually, he's top 6 as far as passing yards. The crazy thing about this whole list is the fact that Derek Carr is still number 2, and he's coming off 2 very bad games.
I mean, Derek Carr, would you put him in consideration? I mean, probably won't win it.
He probably won't win it, but I feel like, if you're having that conversation right now, one could argue
dark horse
that he should.
Yeah.
He's definitely a dark horse for it. But as we speak right now, Kyler Murray looking at over 1,500 yards throwing right now, 75% completion percentage. Has a 10-4 touchdown to interception ratio, and he has a 113 passer rating.
Wow. I think with him, I think the case can be made. Obviously, he's in the MVP race, so we already know that because they look at your team's success. I think for me, if I was going to make a case for Kyler Murray, which I did, but I think if we did awards, even though the MVP is a cursed award for the Super Bowl, that's why I don't think he's not focused on. On that. Lamar's not, but I know Kyler hasn't won one, so he can have his if he wants. But I think whenever I look at statistical output, I love how the fact we have an Offensive Player of the Year award every year. I think he could be the Offensive Player of the Year, or should be the Offensive Player of the Year. That's just my pick for that. Outside of like a Derrick Henry or something like that.
Right.
But for him not having achieved the MVP award, I would have no qualms with him getting it. But once again, guys, this is week 5, so we're just talking about through 5 weeks. But yeah, man. So I agree with you, and it's like when you look at his numbers and just the wins, it's like you can't deny that. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
So yeah, and I didn't look at Herbert's numbers either, but I know he's been smoking too. So but you know what's funny about that? Real quick, just a quick segue to the Herbert. When they had the rain delay or whatever, even though it was in a dome stadium, but anyway,
that was wild.
Yeah, it was wild. Adam Schefter, who doesn't I want to be respectful because I don't want to say he doesn't know football. He's around football, but he's not a football analyst, right? He does other things. He's like, yeah, man, he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. I was like, huh, what? And I'm not even, and I like Herbert, but like Booger McFarland and Steve Young looked at him like, huh, what? And I was like, if he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. What does that make Lamar? My dad was like, black. I was like, all right. I'm sorry, guys. I had to say that. Like, man, bro. Like, but no, I had no qualms with that. Herbert's nice, but it was just a random comment.
Justin Herbert should definitely be in the conversation. I'm over here looking at his numbers. So he's number 4 in passing yards. He has a 13-3 touchdowns to interceptions.
Oh, that's nice.
He's completing 67% of his passes.
Oh, he's in the conversation.
So he's definitely in the conversation. The one thing that I wanted to bring up as far as Kyler Murray, he has over 20 passes over 20 yards.
Oh, he's slinging that thing.
And he has four passes over 40 yards. So to wrap that part up, Kyler Murray, my pick, still looking good. But Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, I think are all going to be in that conversation.
And
Josh Allen,
Derek Carr.
Josh Allen will be in that conversation as well. Maybe even Dak, depending on where his team stands at towards the end of the year.
Right.
But to go, speaking of dark horses, which team has surprised you the most?
Can I say two
Wrapping
teams?
up. Sure, go ahead.
All right. The Bengals, even because on paper, it's one thing to be on paper, and every single year we have paper. Right. But then that doesn't always come to fruition.
True.
Remember and I love Tyrod, but remember the Tyrod Taylor, Carlos Hyde, David Njoku Browns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't last.
Not at all.
So when we have the Bengals, you have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. And, like, I saw that, and I was like, yo, there's no way that – like, it was almost like Madden. You know when you have Face the Franchise or just a video game storyline?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, your best friend who's a receiver. That's such a Face the Franchise thing.
Right.
Like, becomes – joins you in the NFL, and now you have a rapport, and you become the next Steve Young and Jerry Rice.
Right.
Well, that's what they're pretty much doing right now. So like, I think that's cool, that storyline. So it's coming to fruition. T. Higgins, they have weapons offensively. It was always, like you said, the defense of the Bengals. So to sit at 3-2, they're ahead of the Steelers, right? Even though I didn't expect the Steelers to do any good. But Mike Tomlin has never had, I believe, a below 500 record. I believe that's since he's been a head coach. So I think the Bengals so far have surprised me for the fact that they've been able to put it together right now. So the Bengals are my one team, and they're both AFC teams, honestly, for me. The next one is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, look, man. Eventually, there's times when you hope to beat the Chiefs, but you actually have to do it.
Right.
And they look bad right now.
Yeah.
They seem to hit a nice stride offensively versus the Eagles, but once again, that's against the Eagles.
Right.
So I picked the Bills to beat them, but for the Bills to come into your house and shellac you the way they did was just like, wow. Patrick Mahomes, he had been playing well for most of the season, except for the fact that his one weakness that he has, which I don't feel like gets displayed too much or talked about much. They're talking about it now. Excuse me, I'm trying to get out my words. Is that and our friend Tar, shout out to Tar, he always said this. He leads the NFL in the most interceptable passes. So not interceptions, but interceptable passes or dropped interceptions.
Right.
He's number one because he has that Favre DNA in him that he can't scratch. He believes in his arm so much that he's going to give you one or two of those a game,
right.
and you just have to pick them off. So I think the fact that he has to play perfect every night, but the Chiefs' defense, they were always bad, but they got worse. Like, they have names, Chris Jones.
Right.
What's his face? Chris Jones, Frank Clark, and then Honey Badger.
And then Honey Badger.
But they're getting they're getting ran through no, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to have a Dave Chappelle moment. But, yeah, they're getting ran through like some things. And their defense getting passed on. You know what I'm saying? They're getting passed on like some things.
Yeah.
You know, where my mind's at right now. So, yeah. The Chiefs, man, bro. The Chiefs, man.
It's been a long October already.
Yeah. Those are the two teams, Chiefs and Bengals, man. How about you?
For me, man, I'm going to start with a surprise on the positive side and a surprise on the negative side.
Okay.
On the positive side, man, I know I talk a lot of stuff about the Cowboys, but how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, we gotta talk
4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Diggs looking like best corner in football.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to give him that mantle yet. You just got to ball out for more than one season for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know you only been around for 2, but 2-3 seasons. So I'm not going to like harp on you too much. But balling out, I believe he's leading the league in interceptions. Even intercepting a pass this week after leaving last week's game early. But having 2 interceptions in that game, an interception in this game, and I think he's at like 5 or 6. I think he's at 6 within 5 weeks.
Yeah.
The defense playing very well. Micah Parsons being inserted, we knew that he would make a difference, but he's made a big difference to the point where they were able to let go Jalen Smith.
Yes, big difference.
Dak got the offense rolling, looking like Dak before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. That's why I was able to throw him in that last segment that we did. So I'm actually really surprised with them. They've been playing very well. 4-1 as we stand in a very weak division. So I don't really see anybody topping them.
Yeah, but they're beating the teams that they're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go with a negative on in that same division. And you've heard me talk about their defense a lot, but the Washington football team.
Oh, right.
And like they're 3-2 right now, and they've had some very bad losses. We talked about them having their point total doubled against the Buffalo Bills. They're coming off of a loss to the New Orleans Saints. One of the things for me though and he looked good against the Giants, but for me, I'm just like Heineke is just not.
Yeah.
He's not the answer,
and
man.
I said he might be the future. I remember I sent you a message
Yeah.
like, he might be the future. He probably like, man, this dude bugging.
Right. Ooh, boy, tweaking. Bro, I know he relaxed. He just played the Giants, bro.
I know, right?
And so I'm like,
I saw something in him, bro.
I honestly believe that they might have made a mistake by not trying to go after Cam. I know that Ron Rivera might not want to be
Cam, Jameis.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's like I think they made a mistake by even like now, like you have an opportunity to go get Cam. And
I think he's done with them though. That's the sad
probably.
thing.
Yeah, and so it's like I think that Ron Rivera is he's done with the idea of having Cam. I think he, especially where I don't know if Cam has got vaccinated yet, so I don't think that.
Yeah, I'm not sure his status on that vaccine.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his status is, but like I know that's a conversation for another time. But while we're talking about the Washington football team, I know Ron Rivera is not going to want to bring in someone who is not vaccinated.
True.
So we'll see what happens with that. But it's like they're 2-3 right now. They're at least second in the division, but so there's more room and like some ground to gain later in the season. But right now they're not looking very well. Not looking very good. And
so you have
I'm just completely
NFC and I have 2 AFC. All right.
Yeah, just looking real bad, man. Like it's crazy to me, like how bad the defense looks.
Right, and they have a great well, on paper they have a great front seven.
Exactly.
So
and it's like you would think, like, all right, if there is a weakness, that it would be the DBs, but it's like the DBs aren't even like the front seven is just getting no pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of disappointed, but we'll see. It's a lot of football left. We're only 5 weeks into a 17 weeks, so there's 12 weeks left. So it's a lot of football.
A lot of things can change. I'm sure there's going to be teams that have winning records that are going to, slip.
Exactly.
Teams losing records are going to rise.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So yeah. But with that, we got I think we got
Player weeks.
I didn't realize we had this much time left. But
okay.
but it is. I mean, it's AFC and NFC Player of the Week. I'll let you go first.
All right, so
I'm sure I already know who your AFC player.
So we'll get this out the way. The one and the only Lamar Jackson. He needs an action figure. If he doesn't have an action figure, Hansborough, whatever, make an action figure. Toys R Us, all of them, Hot Wheels, whatever. Make him a car or something, So Lamar Jackson, man, look. This dude balled out. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw the primetime game coming back from 19 points down, like I mentioned earlier in our first topic of the show. This guy wound up completing 86% completion, 37 of 43 passes, 400 completions, pass attempts, right? 37 to 43, 442 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, right? And like no picks. Like that was amazing. That was the best. And I understand the comparison because Mike Vick once said this. He's like, yeah, that's me in college, right? And he has some of that part of him, right?
Right.
But he surpassed Vic. We've already mentioned that he's a unanimous MVP. He's, does things. There's better than Vic, et cetera, poise, all that, completions. But it actually took me back to when Vic had his performance. But it was different because Vic's performance was just really all downfield bombs to Deshaun Jackson.
Right.
But remember, they said that was the greatest Monday night football performance pretty much in history, a lot of people said, based off the statistical thing, what he did, Andy Reid's offense, and based off of everything we saw and coming back from behind, like, I can't deny Lamar that title, and that's why I said before the show, I feel like we're going to talk about him a lot. Even if that might not be your choice, you could say Favre when his father died. You could say Vic.
Right.
You could say maybe some others, but he's in that top 5. And that was a top 5 performance. It just happened to be against the Colts. You know what I'm saying? So, Lamar is my AFC player of the week. He's put this team on his back, and it was just amazing. And then for my NFC player of the week, I'm going to go with Davante Adams. I'm going to show some receivers some love. Yes. He's on my fantasy team, too. So shout out to Davante Adams. When DeAndre Hopkins, is just catching touchdowns and not catching 10, 15 passes a game anymore because Cliff Kingsbury wants to spread the ball around in that offense. I have to give it to Davante. There's DeAndre and Davante. Who's truly the best for ultimate world supremacy? Right now, Davante Adams had 11 catches, 206 yards, I believe, and a touchdown. This dude balled out coming from behind. The Bengals, obviously. But he was a playmaker. He's a playmaker. His route running made Ocho Cinco cry.
Right.
The reason why is because if you look at Davante Adams, right, little arm movement.
Right.
It's hips. It's everything. Like, I literally, he makes you learn about receiving, route running, balance, all that kind of stuff. He balled out. Anytime you have a receiver that eclipses 200 yards and eclipses double digits in passes, receptions, I have to put him up there. The chemistry he has with Aaron Rodgers, I believe he balled out. There's a lot of different players that could have it. Defensive players is out there. But I want to give Davante Adams some love because I feel like we talk a lot about Justin Jefferson, which he might be the player. We talk about DeAndre, and I feel like Davante, after having that season he had last year, which is the best, season for a receiver last year, for that year, it was him at the receiver position, Ramsey at the cornerback position. I think Davante Adams is actually, quietly picked up off where he was at last year. So I'm going to go with Davante for my NFC player of the week, man.
So my NFC player of the week, I'm kind of stuck between two.
Okay.
One, because I want to show some rookie love. So
Shout out to the rookies.
Kadarius Toney balled out.
Waiver wire.
Even while someone I mentioned in the last segment, Diggs was guarding him, he made him look real bad on a few plays. And so 10 receptions off 13 targets, 189 yards. And my other is my Ohio State boy, Marshawn Lattimore.
Okay, Lattimore. That's a name we haven't heard of in a while.
Who gave up 2 catches on 7 targets, which for you to only get 7 targets on while you're guarding someone is phenomenal. I think that's something that shouldn't get sniffed at. I think that while also making someone I think he played with at Ohio State. Yeah. Scary Terry held him to 4 catches. Which obviously he only gave up 2 on his end, so it's not that many catches that McLaurin was able to make in the plays that he's making. Obviously, my fantasy football teams, I went 0-2 this week. One of them was a very close loss.
Oh, the one you showed me with Lamar.
And he's on that same team.
Right, because it was Saquon. Rest in peace, pour out some liquor for Saquon.
Saquon, bro.
Yeah. Man.
Hope you get it together, bro.
Right.
I'm sorry about your injury woes.
They might put Tony at running back now. He's dying position. They're gonna call it positionless football.
Right.
Look at Cordell Patterson could do it. So
Hey, that's facts.
Yeah,
that's
anyway,
facts.
I didn't want to.
But I'm kind of torn, man, because I wanted to go with someone else.
Speak your heart, don't bite your tongue.
As far as like AFC Player of the Week, and I'm sitting over here looking at people's numbers, and I'm just like, bro, it's hard.
Excuses, right?
Because it's like I never want to keep talking about the same person, but it's like at a certain point you would be a hater
Yeah.
to try to bring up anybody else. And so it's like, for what he was able to do and everything that you were able to bring up, it's like, why would I bring up anybody else? The only person I could even possibly think of that would even stand a chance or to even have an opportunity to be in that same conversation is Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
He was 2 yards short of 400, four touchdowns, 122 passer rating, 30 yards on the ground, no interceptions, got the W, beating a pretty good Cleveland Browns team. So I will throw his name in there, but he didn't have a better week than Lamar.
So he'd be like your 1B or 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, if just for the sake of conversation, I'm going to give Justin Herbert some love.
Yeah, I respect that, man. And we play them next week.
Right.
Yeah, on the short week. So
I definitely don't like it because I don't
talking about the same.
I don't want to be talking about a team that's in my division.
Right. Oh yeah, that too. Right. Them, the Chiefs. You hear about them all the time, man.
Because boo them Chargers, boo
Chiefs and
them Chiefs
the Denver Ponies
and them Denver Ponies over there.
Nay.
Trying to steal the Bears color scheme. I don't want to hear that,
man. But you know what? When you mentioned, I was gonna kind of say something about the true GOAT of this thing in sports, Michael Jordan. Yeah, they talk about Jordan all the time. I was gonna say that.
Right.
I mean, they really did. Like, especially when we was kids. I mean, I know it was like the back half of his career, but like Jordan was in the media all the time.
Facts.
And they talk about LeBron all the time. Now, I don't, respectfully, he's a great player, but I don't want to talk about LeBron all the time either. So I definitely feel you about not wanting to have to talk about the same player. But one thing we always do is we give credit where credit's due. So
right.
So yeah, man. But yeah.
But this one is we ran through these topics, bro. Ooh. We still have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
There's 12 minutes left.
How about we do 3 takeaways from week 5?
3 takeaways.
Yeah. So that means we can do any team. Want me to set it off?
I know, like, for me, I'm a Raider fan. So
yes,
some people are gonna want me to talk about what's going on. So I'm not gonna go too deep into what was said.
No problem.
I'm not even gonna really give too much commentary as far as the whole, because there's been some people. I even heard Shannon Sharp bring it up that
this morning.
It was. When it was just the talk as far as the emails had came out as far as what John Gruden said about DeMaurice Smith's lips. There wasn't that much outrage. It was some outrage, but it was like, all right, that's not that big a deal. Subtle. He was able to keep his job.
Yeah, subtle outrage.
Yeah, he still would have been. He still would had to have a conversation with his players. I think me physically being at that Raiders game. There was moments where they just didn't look inspired to be out there playing for him. So it was gonna definitely be a long season after that, especially with how they were playing before. Even last week, how we played and ended up losing, but we still were able to come back. And I think that was when the first email had just been released, like the night before.
Okay.
Or even that morning.
Yeah.
So for us to come out, we go 0-2 since the emails have been out. We keep him as the coach, and then it's the things after that. So it's like that's where I do agree with Shannon Sharp on that. Okay. And I'm not going to go too far into it. At that point, I'm going to start talking about my takeaways. But the one thing that I did agree with Shannon Sharp is that every minority group should hold the same weight. You shouldn't be able to disrespect one without consequence, and then you disrespect this group, and that's when the consequences come in. Now, it could be one of those things where the same conversation I had with you and my friends outside of, like, in order for me to call someone something, you have to show me a pattern of behavior. Now, it could be one of those things where this is just him speaking out of frustration. This is 10 years ago emails.
Right.
So, all right, cool. You make your apology. We try to move forward from that. Then you start to see, all right, not only are you possibly racist, but you're also misogynistic, homophobic. Now you got a triple threat of things I can't have in my company.
Right. Because you have like the LGBTQ community, then you have like African American community, and you have the women.
Right.
And people want to like throw stuff at your house now. So
exactly, and then it's like you'll have people outside Allegiant Stadium talking about and picketing and rioting. So it's like we don't need none of that. So obviously at that point you got to get him out of there.
Yeah.
It sucks because a lot of the times I think that he's a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I obviously going into it, I'm on tape and I'm on record saying we were going to make the playoffs.
I had you in the playoffs too.
I still think that we have the talent to get to the playoffs. It just depends on who takes over and what direction they want to go in, and their relationship with Derek Carr. Where I think that the part that sucks the most is over the years since John Gruden has been there, we start bringing up like the conversation or the relationship that he had with Derek Carr. This was the first year that we don't have Derek Carr trade talks.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that sucks when you talk about just the football field. I know the things that he said that was hurtful to people, so I don't want to be focused. I'm
just talking about the team potential.
But I'm just talking about the team potential.
Gruden.
Yes,
right.
I'm not saying it sucks. We have to get a racist out of here,
right.
or a homophobic person out of here. Like, I'm not talking about that part. I'm saying it just the aspects of things. And then for that, it just was disappointing to hear that from someone that is. One, the way that he came back, he got a 10-year contract off rip. Then you put that amount of money into him, that amount of years into him, and that type of commitment to find out that, especially with you
got a new stadium,
your fan base, is a direct representation of the people that you disrespected in those emails. There's how many women do you know that are Raiders fans? How many black and brown people do you know that are Raiders fans? And then as well as the LGBT community, like I know a gang of people in that community that are Raiders fans as well. So it's like to sit there and disrespect the people, and then it makes you think about how this was brought out.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't know nothing about this if it wasn't for the email or the sexual misconduct investigation of the Washington football team. And then it's like when you start to think about like, all right, cool. You hear so many stories of things that have been said in the locker rooms from former African American players. Then it's like, all right, well, obviously in my mind, this John Gruden wasn't the only one. Mm-hmm. So it's like if we were gonna sit here. And now I'm through my group chat that we're in. I guess there's talks of they're done with the investigation. At this point, so it's like they better not use John Gruden as a scapegoat. When especially that's not what y'all was looking after. So if you find that in his, I feel like
might as well release everything else.
Let's just start going through everybody's emails.
Yeah, there's owners,
right?
Owners, obviously players tweet stuff. I already know some players off rip, but. We're going talking about like people in positions of power. Like there's mad owners. I mean you just had the Houston Texans owner that passed away, that was talking about that stuff.
He used the wrong phrase, but then also at the same time. Yeah, bro, you got to get out of here.
Yeah, man. So, but anyway. So I definitely feel you on that. Now, my last question to you, actually, might as well sake of time. My last question to you is: do you feel like this is going to? Because I'm glad you actually brought up the game, because every team is an NFL team, and all the players are trying to feed their families. I really just had you guys win that game, so I was actually kind of shocked you guys were losing the game, and I didn't even make it the correlation to the emails. I really didn't, because I wasn't even thinking about it on Sunday. I thought about it after the game or during halftime, sadly, when I'm enjoying myself, and I'm sure everyone's trying to enjoy themselves. I was like, oh, he's fired. Like, whoa. So do you feel like this is going to have a negative impact moving on the Raiders, or do you think they'll be able to recover from this or withstand this, I guess, this storm relatively quickly, or if that's even the right words to
I don't know, man, because this goes back to something we talked about not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, last week, when we talked about the the Raiders losing to the Chargers, and we started talking about it's starting to look like the signs of a collapse.
Okay. Yeah. We did, and I even said that.
Yeah,
I said
you
that. I
said
was like,
you were
yeah,
the one that said that. So it's
same old
like, but I
collapse.
didn't
was
see
like,
the
yeah.
off the field thing happening. So
None
it's
of us
like
did.
it's literally
Yeah.
only like it's starting to get to a point where this is just one of those things of like total dysfunction within an organization.
Yeah.
So like it just depends on how Mark Davis handles this situation. Is he willing to get out in front of it and make and admit a mistake and look those players in the eyes and say that I stand with you in this fight? Because I personally don't feel like, and I know some people that have been in Bible studies with Derek Carr. He's been he's entrenched himself in the community, the Las Vegas community. I know some people that have gone to church with him. He was actually at shout out to Vanessa, the person that got me plugged with Fitboxer. He was at her church.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I had an opportunity to go, but I just couldn't make it. She hit me up last minute.
Okay.
Actually, she hit me up and I forgot about it. And then I ended up, when she hit me up, it was like I totally forgot about it. So it was like, to me, it was last minute. I couldn't make the adjustment to go. But like, I just don't see him be. I feel like he would stand more along those lines of like, especially with him being a God-fearing man and things like that. Like, especially coming from you went to Fresno State. You're a Cali kid.
Yeah.
So it's like for you to, I just feel like it would be hard for him to be closer along the lines of a John Gruden than to stand with those teammates in this fight. Yeah. So it's just, for me, I think that it's I think the people that are in the positions of power on that football team are going to have to galvanize and stand behind those players and genuinely hear what those players have to say in order for them to turn it around and make it into a positive season.
Okay. I can definitely see that. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything transpires. I'm pulling for the Raiders as a team for you in terms of, I hope they can, galvanize as a team, continue to do their thing, because at the end of the day, they have families they want to feed and different things of that nature. John Gruden's comments, obviously, they were disappointing and unfortunate, and, they're not a reflection of, anything that me and Ralph feel. So, but definitely it was a wild weekend.
Yes.
Wild week for the NFL, wild weekend, et cetera. So, yeah. But
the one thing I want to say before we get up out of here,
the
one thing I don't want to get lost is the fight for equality.
Yes.
This whole thing started out because of sexual misconduct within the Washington football team. And I hope that people continue to keep putting pressure on the organizations at hand that have the power, because from what I'm hearing, this investigation is over after what happened with John Gruden, which I think it should only be the beginning. So I hope that people are willing to see and not fall for my dad used to call it the overlay for the underplay. The smoke and mirrors, the scapegoat that they try to pawn on John Gruden. And a part of me is glad that those emails did come out, but I really hope that this is not. I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg and not like, all right, cool, we got that out of there. Let's move on. Right. And like, for me, it's like that shouldn't be where we're at. We shouldn't fall for that. We shouldn't let that slide. And keep putting pressure on people. If you got any organizations or the opportunity to be able to reach foundations that can put pressure on these people that we talk about, as far as gaining equality from all the way from the LGBTQ community to the Black and Brown community to women, gaining equality as well in any minority group. But on that note,
I echo those same sentiments.
We're gonna get out of here. Make sure you follow us. Follow our page. These individual segments will be on IGTV. Each individual segment will be on IGTV on our Instagram page. Just make sure you follow at j.u.k. Show. Follow me on Instagram as well and TikTok at KYNGRALPH. Make sure you like and follow our Facebook page, the He Say, She Say channel. He Say, She Say is all one word. That is also the same name of our YouTube channel.
Right. Make sure you put the channel and all that so you don't come across some Lupe Fiasco. But if you do find some Lupe Fiasco on YouTube, definitely peep that. But
Right.
And you can follow me at @the.houseofhoops on Instagram. That's at @the.houseofhoops for NBA content, player interviews, highlights, breakdowns throughout this season.
And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, man, we're always down to have a conversation, male or female, to talk about sports. Well, it's all love over here.
Yes, we welcome
And thank you all for watching. We're about to get out of here. Have a good day. Cool.